Guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk about Boeing stock and if I would buy, hold, or sell. And a lot of recent developments just came out that led to the stock spike in just about 10% here this week. Some of these included that the company said they're going to see an increase in their deliveries of their planes throughout 2026. The Department of Justice's penalty will flip in 2026. The company is going to complete its acquisition of Spirit this year, and it just finally turned the corner here on free cash flow positive for like the first year in quite some time. So let's dig a little further in and get some info here on Boeing. So, like I mentioned in the previous slide, right, a lot of this jump has to do with the company finally getting that positive free cash flow. I mean, after the CEO says recovery is in full force and its free cash flow should turn positive next year, I mean, Q3 for Boeing was its first positive cash flow since all these safety issues with this with the door plug blowout. I mean, today marks only the sixth time in 2 years that the stock has risen 5%. So investors are definitely hopeful and seeing some positive free cash flow, but I think they're hoping it sticks around here, unlike 2023 and 2022 being so spotty. Boeing and Airbus are the only two big companies that make large passenger planes. It's a monopoly, it's a moat. Together, they control almost the entire market, 99%. And Boeing already has orders placed for the next 10 years, about $500 billion worth. And Airbus has orders for the next 20 years. Airlines don't really have a choice. They can either stay with Boeing, get planes sooner, but deal with Boeing's current problems and delays, especially safety, or switch to Airbus, no problems right now, but you go to the back of a 20-year waiting list. I mean, neither company can make planes fast enough to meet demand. So airlines are stuck waiting no matter who they choose. I mean, Boeing's booked solid on orders for years. It's just a matter of if they can execute. And one issue is that the government has a say on how many planes they can make because it's become a safety issue. Boeing will go up to 270, and then a door will fly off the 737, and it'll go back down to 200. Okay. The stock is very, very volatile in nature with these safety concerns. And ever since 2020, they've just been digging themselves out of a hole since travel went down. So this is going to be a bit of a longer slide, but I think it's essential to truly understanding how Boeing has evolved over the years and why I'm a bigger fan of Airbus than Boeing. Okay. So McDonnell Douglas, for those of you who don't know, is the predecessor to Boeing, right? They developed a very toxic finance bro culture that prioritized short-term profits over safety, leading to deadly DC-10 crashes. You could do some Google searches on it, and they overall just damaged their reputation. As its lucrative Pentagon contracts we're talking about, they eventually dried up, and rivals like Lockheed won new business while McDonnell Douglas kept losing and losing ground within the commercial aviation space. Now, its leaders looked over at Boeing and was like, God damn it, I wish I was them, right? The undisputed king at the time of commercial jets with a legendary engineering first culture. Let me just emphasize that. Boeing used to be a very, very engineer first focused company, not finance. Okay. Boeing had earned its dominance through decades of tight collaboration between management, engineers, factory workers, making revolutionary and astonishingly safe airplanes. Yet Boeing's CEO at the time was unhappy with his pay and disliked how close executives were to engineering and labor. So now in 1997, Boeing merges with McDonnell Douglas, and in what was effectively a takeover, and in reverse, though, okay? Almost immediately, the combined company moved its headquarters from Seattle to Chicago specifically to distance top executives from engineers and production workers. Executive compensation shot up. The former McDonnell Douglas CEO took the top job at Boeing, and finance driven thinking became dominant, and it still is today. Over the following decades, the once unbreakable Boeing engineer culture was deliberately dismantled and replaced with the same Harvard MBA playbook that had already killed and devastated McDonnell Douglas. Today, Boeing aircraft are again falling out of the sky. Safety scandals pile up, and Boeing is desperately trying to relearn the engineering discipline it threw away while its executives cashed out for years. I mean, it is just McDonnell Douglas all over again, and that's why I'm more of a fan of Airbus. Have you guys like flown a plane recently or ever been with people, have family members and friends who are scared of planes? I mean, the last like 2 years, you hop on a plane and people are terrified looking if it's a Boeing plane, asking if it's a Boeing plane. I mean, there has been, in my mind, in my opinion, the biggest issue with them right now, other than obviously we'll get to that in the next slide, the financials being absolute disaster for a company that operates as a duopoly. But anyway, it's the damage they've done to their own reputation, right? I mean, Airbus has continued to take market share while Boeing struggles with significant quality controls here, okay? Can Boeing find a way to turn it all around? I mean, maybe, but not anytime in the short term. They'll continue to operate a large mode, but I find them to be a non-investable until clear signs of recovery are underway here. I mean, uh, Boeing is like a hitman company. Oh my god! Like if they were in that space, I'd take them. But it's like, oh my god, these dudes are saving $1 to not change a screw on a plane on door that flies off just so they can, save some money. Did you ever hear the stories on the Boeing whistleblowers? Go and take a look, Google on that. And this guy was saying, we take in parts and we store parts in a unusable. If the parts are no good, we throw them to the side. They're unusable and they're stored in a room. Well, the secondary market for parts has gotten so tight that people are going to the room and using the broken parts in their plane so they can meet their deadlines. And I bet you that's where the safety issues of Boeing are coming from. I think another thing to mention is that airlines plan out their future decades in advance. I mean, the 20-year backlog for Airbus isn't an issue because they aren't in a rush to get new planes. Additionally, consumers have lost faith in Boeing. I mean, people are scared to fly in their planes, and in turn, airlines are purchasing fewer Boeing planes because they know many consumers will not fly on a Boeing plane, period. I mean, look at Boeing's statements. It looks like they are receiving a far, far fewer orders the last 5 years when compared to Airbus. And I mean, this hasn't really seen and taken effect at Boeing just yet, since they have such a large backlog going 10 years, but eventually it will catch up to them and they'll be in big trouble. The greatest challenges Boeing faces are years away due to the backlog. I mean, consumers started turning on Boeing within the last decade, and airlines also have just begun reducing or eliminating their Boeing fleets, which means the effects won't be visible for another decade when all the backlog catches up. The fact that Boeing is unprofitable now is such a bad sign since they aren't even in a really bad position yet. I mean, these problems go back decades. If you look at the structure of Boeing, like I talked about in my last slide, with the people in executive positions are all businessmen and not engineers. I mean, for a company that operates as a duopoly, this is just a disgusting, disgusting financial performance. I mean, take a look at the revenue. I mean, that's the only thing you can really talk about here is that, we saw 17% growth and then 15% growth, but we're seeing some really tremendous growth in the LTM here. But now take a look at the gross margins. 1.2% gross margin? So I mean that before they're even paying salaries, paying to keep the lights on, paying all their employees, everything, buying planes, they they only have 1% profit. I mean, you can obviously see as it flows down. I mean, they've just been losing money. 7% loss, 3% loss, 18% loss, 13% loss. The company is hemorrhaging cash. Okay, and then when you look at some of the metrics, the company's not even the return on capital. is minus 17%. I mean, I wouldn't trust these guys with my money. If they came make 1%, 5%, negative 17. That's just utterly insane. I mean, all of their profitability ratios, once you get past gross profit, negative, negative, negative. And then what really starts to scare me, they have almost 7 times as much debt as they have equity. Okay, so all of the money they've saved up, put into the company, they've 7 times more debt than that. I mean, that's scary, and you start to look at it and say, "Are these guys gonna be able to pay off that debt?" Because when I'm looking at their EBITDA less what they have to purchase and divide that by their interest, they can't cover it. Their EBITDA does not cover their how much they owe in interest. I mean, the business model's broken right now. There's not even a recession, and they operate in a duopoly. I mean, this is some of the worst financials I've seen in quite some time. So me, I'm not a fan of Boeing. If I had to pick one, it would be Airbus. There's just been too many safety issues. I don't see the safety issues dying. The sentiment in the public is down. The financials are horrible. The structure of the company's changed ever since that acquisition, or I guess reverse merger is the better way. And just is all of the people at the top are finance based. They're not engineers in a plane company. I mean, sell. That's it.